guys? I am back and welcome back to the second installment of the OST review series. You know what I'm saying? Now today we're going to be doing Sonic Colors Ultimate. As many of y'all know, I did Sonic Colors last time. Now today is Sonic Colors Ultimate. Now one thing you might be asking is, wait, how is he doing the OST review of Sonic Colors Ultimate when the game hasn't even come out yet? The game hasn't released, meaning that the OST hasn't released yet. Well, as you can see on the screen right now, what I'm going to be doing is looking at these little tracks that have released. These are a couple of songs from the OST for Sonic Colors Ultimate that have released early before the actual game has come out. Sega has released a couple of songs that we're able to hear before the game actually comes out to get a little bit of like a taste or a preview as to what type of songs we should be expecting from the entire OST when we actually do pick up the game, you know what I'm saying? I am going to be doing a full OST review of Sonic Colors Ultimate when the game does come out, but until then, right now we're going to be doing the early OST review is what I'm going to call this. There's a little bit of like a setup change in a couple of spots when it comes to my entire YouTube setup right here, you know, just things have changed a bit. I had to restart my whole entire setup. I had to redo everything. Ever since the last video, I have reset my entire computer, starting all the way fresh, and I wanted to reset my computer just because, I mean, with a fresh start, I do kind of want to have a fresh computer in a way. First thing that we're going to be doing is looking at the Reach for the Stars remix. This is a remix to the last Reach for the Stars song that I did put in the Sonic Colors OST review as a highlighted piece, so I obviously really like Reach for the Stars. But how do I feel about this version? How do I feel about this brand new version that Sega has come out with? I really like this version. I really do. I love this Reach for the Stars right here. I love this version. But I don't really think it's touching the original. Now, hear me out. Maybe in my opinion, it's not really touching the original. So listen. First thing I do want to say is I remember in the last video that I made, I was talking about how Reach for the Stars and Sonic Colors and whoever really made that song, whoever did the vocals for that song, really put a lot of emphasis and a lot of strength into those vocals, and they really popped out with the instrumental. Now, one thing is, I think this is the same vocals, right, as the last one. But one thing I'm going to say is that the instrumental that we use, that's used for this song right here, it kind of takes away from the vocals. This instrumental, when it gets to like its really loud parts, it gets a little bit too loud sometimes, point where it overshadows the vocals. So that's kind of one little problem that I have so far. That's a little like minor problem. Tempo or just like the volume of the song in general isn't really as consistent as the last Reach for the Stars song. This remix here isn't really it's not as consistent, and to be honest, that's kind of not one thing that I'm too big of a fan of. Rock sort of song in some ways, like when the hook pops up with the when he says I'm gonna reach for the stars, there is like a rock sort of instrumental in the background, and then as the verses appear, it's more of like a more calming like piano type of playing, and it's just, I don't know, or there's different areas where there is more of like a piano being used, so it's a lot more silent and peaceful. Some people might like that. That's just not my that's not my cup of tea. The next song I'm looking at is, what is this called? A Rotatron and Refreshinator remix. This is one of the boss themes in the game. This has never really been one of my favorite themes in the game, to be honest. It's never been one that I've disliked, but it's not been my favorite theme, and to be honest, this one, it's not my favorite song, but it's better than the original. I feel like the original Rotatron and Refreshinator, I feel like that original song isn't very it's sort of repetitive in different ways. Like, you hear the boss theme and you don't hear the bosses are kind of easy when you have this theme, so it also doesn't last that long when you're actually playing the game. And it's just a bit of a repetitive theme in some ways. I don't really like this theme that much. I don't really like the sound of it that much. This one is a little bit better though. It's still in a way repetitive, but there's a lot more instruments used in this version to make it sound more modern and not sound as, I guess, just plain in some ways. I really like this version, and that's all I really got to say. Nothing really too deep with this one, but that's kind of the way that I feel about the remix. Better than the original, and it's a bit more I guess it's a bit refreshing with a couple of more instrumentals used and a couple more instruments used and a couple more just additions. I guess that's all I could say for that one. The next one is going to be the Sweet Mountain Act 1 theme. This one, I really like this theme. I love the Sweet Mountain Act 1, the new theme that they're using for this new game, right? I love the remix. One thing I do want to say right now is that I don't really think this remix is going to fit well with Sweet Mountain, the stage itself. One thing is that Sweet Mountain is a desert stage. That's the stage in the game. It's a whole entire desert world. The entire world is a desert world, right? And one thing that kind of slightly bothers me is that I don't really think this song is going to fit well with a desert sort of theme. Think of like maybe going into a shop or something, to be honest with you. Like maybe like a shop theme in a video game. I don't think of a desert type of area, which the original sounds a bit more like it would fit for like a sort of jazzy desert type of area. The original fits a little bit better, I think, with Sweet Mountain, and that's how I feel like it's going to be when I actually play the stage in Sonic Colors Ultimate. You know, it's not going to fit too well in some ways. The next thing that I'm going to be looking at is going to be the Planet Wisp Act 1 theme version compared to the last Planet Wisp Act 1. To be honest with you, I'm kind of like, it's weird. I'm sort of mixed with this one because I really do like the sound of this one. Again, there's a lot more instruments placed and a lot more energy placed into this song. Like, you listen to this and it's like, you can just tell there's a lot of strength and energy that's used into these instruments inside of this song. For the Planet Wisp Act 1 theme, it's just strictly due to nostalgia. I think that's kind of just the way that it is for me. But at the same time, I do like this theme. It's just there's so much energy put into this one and it's so different. Planet Wisp Act 1 is just it's a legendary theme to me, you know, and I think one thing that's a bit tough for me is that it's so different from the original theme that I might just have to, because of nostalgia, prefer the original theme. I'm kind of biased and unfair, especially since I'm an OST reviewer, but I always keep it realist to the way I feel about things. That's kind of the way that I do it on this channel. So that's kind of the way that I feel, but again, overall, is this a better song? I guess, again, it kind of depends on preference. You know, Planet Wisp Act 1 in the original game is a lot more simple, I think, than this one right here. This one has a lot more just strength and energy put into it. But, I mean, it's a cool song either way, but that's all I really got to say. Next thing, I got to be completely honest with this one here. Aquarium Park Act 1, which is one of the songs, again, that I put into my highlighted pieces in the Sonic Colors OST review. Aquarium Park Act 1 for Sonic Colors Ultimate, I'm going to keep it completely honest with you. I'm really not... It does sound very different compared to the last Aquarium Park. And it's just, in some ways, I feel like the instrumental is a bit too subtle to me in some parts. Like, in Aquarium Park Act 1 in the original Sonic Colors, it starts to get a little bit more simple and not as, like, loud. And it starts to go, like, dun, dun, dun. You know, like, that part is so, like, that's such a strong, amazing part to me. That really, like, makes up the song so much. But Aquarium Park Act 1 in the remix, it does the same exact thing with the instrumental, except it kind of makes it sound a lot more subtle and less important, I guess, is the way that I feel. In the beginning, when it's like, you know, it sounds so much more subtle with whatever instrumentals they used, or with whatever instruments they used here. It feels like some parts of this song, feels like with the way that they made this remix, that they thought that some parts of Aquarium Park, the original, weren't really as important as they should have been in this remix. Like, I don't know, man, it's just those little parts that I just described you there are some of the most important and, like, just some of my favorite parts of this entire song, and it feels like that wasn't really acknowledged too much in this remix. Last song that I'm going to be putting in here is Speak With Your Heart, from Sonic Colors Ultimate, the remix. This song right here, to be honest with you, man, I don't really know how to feel, because Speak With Your Heart, again, this is a song, I've never been a big fan of this song. I've never really listened to it like that. I'm sure when I beat the game, I listened to I've beaten this game Sonic Colors like 10 times. I'm sure I've heard the entire song a bunch of times, but I never paid too much attention to it. I don't really remember paying too much attention to this theme. I just don't. And I didn't even really remember it like that overall, which I'm surprised by, because I remembered all these other themes. But Speak With Your Heart is one of those where it's like, I don't know, I had to, like, listen to the original and then listen to this remix here. And to be honest, the original, now I like both versions, but the newer is better due to more, like, diverse instruments, is one thing that I will say. It sort of doesn't have, like, a nostalgia based bias for me. I actually prefer this original new version right here. The original focuses more on the vocals, while this version, this remix right here, focuses a lot more on the instruments and, like, the instrumental in the background. But it's like, it's kind of opposite for me, because I prefer this song right here, this remix, to the other one, just because the remix focuses more on the instrumental, while Speak With Your Heart, the other one, focuses more on the vocals. Again, it's like, that's kind of confusing for me, but that is the way that I just feel overall about this song, man. I don't really like the way that it starts either. Isn't that like some kind of like techno kind of? Isn't this like some kind of tech? Never been my favorite type of genre, never been my favorite type of music, however you would describe it. Again, I'm learning more as I go through this series, you know what I'm saying? But hey, that's the way that I feel about this theme right here. But anyways, that is truly all that I got to say about this OST here, the Sonic Colors Ultimate OST. Now, how do I feel about it in general? I do want to speak about it a little bit. I really like this OST. Now, do I prefer it to the original? Overall, so far, I don't really think that I do. It's just, I mean, again, I like this OST. I don't really know. I think I gotta like look back and kind of think about it, because they're very different. These two OSTs, it's also one thing, it's kind of a risky thing that Sega's doing here, is making a Sonic Colors Ultimate a whole new OST, you know, and really remixing all of the songs from Sonic Colors, because those are some legendary songs. It's kind of a risky thing to do. But I will say, I gotta make my decision a little bit in a later time, because man, these OSTs are kind of different, so it's hard for me to really choose which one is better. You know, the sounds are quite a bit different in the Sonic Colors Ultimate OST, surprisingly more different than from Sonic Colors. So I do gotta decide, do I prefer this song, do I prefer this sound, or do I prefer this sound? Like Sweet Mountain Act 1, I'll say I think I prefer Sweet Mountain Act 1 in the Sonic Colors Ultimate OST than in the last one. That's just, I like that modern sound, I like that shop kind of sound, and though I don't think the song is gonna fit as well into this game, I do think that this song overall is better. I'll say that much. So I mean, that's the way that I feel right now. I got to kind of make the decision. I don't like the Aquarium Park Act 1 remix as much. It's probably my least favorite. Or actually, nah, that's probably my second to least favorite besides the Rotatron, Rush Refreshinator, however you pronounce it, that remix. Because again, in Sonic Colors, that song has never been I've never been a big fan of that one. But again, it's me. I gotta make like more of a decision on it. But I will say this is very different from the original. And that's all that I really got to say. Really, I mean, it's a good OST. It's not disappointing. It's definitely tolerable. Do I like it more than the last one? I gotta decide that, and I'll probably decide that at a later time when I'm actually reviewing this OST, okay? But that's all I really got to say. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Peace.